Adolf Hitler's legacy is a lasting reminder of the devastating consequences of extremist ideologies, unchecked power, and racial hatred. His dictatorship not only caused unprecedented destruction, but also reshaped the modern world. His legacy must live on, lest we forget how destructive and vile humanity can really be. Adolf Hitler was born on the 20th of April, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, a town in Austria-Hungary. He was the fourth of 6 children to Alois Hitler and Clara Pölzl. Hitler attended Volksschulein nearby Fischelham. The death of his younger brother Edmund, who died from measles in 1900, deeply affected Hitler. He was an unhappy child and quite rebellious. Alois died on the 3rd of January 1903. This, too, would impact Adolf negatively. Adolf wasn't a good student. In 1905, Hitler left the school without any ambitions for further education or clear plans for a career. He tried unsuccessfully to enroll in art school in Vienna. His mother, Clara, died on the 21st of December 1907 of breast cancer at the age of 47. Adolf, out of money, was forced to live in homeless shelters and men's hostels. During this time, he was exposed to the xenophobic and anti-Semitic rhetoric in Austria. In 1913, after receiving his father's inheritance, Adolf moved to Munich. The First World War started when Adolf was 25 years old. As an Austrian, he sought permission to join the Bavarian army. Hitler served in France and Belgium in the 16th Bavarian Reserve Regiment. He was promoted to message runner after the First Battle of Ypres. As a messenger, he would gain valuable insight into the mechanics of military planning and strategy. He received the relatively common Iron Cross, Second Class, in 1914, and Iron Cross, First Class, in 1918. During the Battle of the Somme, in October 1916, an explosion near his dugout would leave him with a wound to his left thigh. In 1918, he would again find himself in hospital after a British mustard gas attack. Germany surrendered while he was in hospital. He was infuriated and vowed to liberate Germany. With little prospect after the war, Hitler remained in the army. In 1919, assigned to the reconnaissance unit, he was given an assignment to infiltrate the German Workers' Party in Munich. Munich was a gathering place for dissatisfied former servicemen, unhappy that Germany had surrendered. With this assignment, Hitler was exposed to the political propaganda pamphlets of the party. The anti-Semitic and nationalist tone piqued Hitler's interest. Hitler applied to join the party and was accepted. It was at the DAP party meetings that Hitler would meet Dietrich Eckart. Eckart was a member of the Thule Society. The group's interest was German Aryan ancestry racial theory, and in particular, in combating Jews and communists. The DAP changed its name to the National Sozialistische Deutsche Arbeiterpartei, known as the Nazi Party. Hitler was discharged from the army on 31st March 1920. He would now devote his time to the party. His time was spent giving speeches, denouncing the Treaty of Versailles, and spreading anti-Jewish and Marxist rhetoric. In 1921, the Nazi Party wanted to merge with the German Socialist Party. Hitler wasn't having any of this and resigned from the party. The problem now was that Hitler was the Nazi Party's star player. They asked him to reconsider. He did, and his terms were clear. He would retract his resignation, but wanted to be the party chairman. Despite some opposition to this proposal, on the 29th of July, he was granted absolute power as party chairman by a vote of 533 to 1. Delivering acrimonious beer hall speeches, Hitler began attracting regular audiences. Hitler would befriend Ernst Röhm, a staff member of the District Army Command and a party member. Röhm would become the leader of the Sturmabteilung, SA, stormtroopers. They were the paramilitary wing of the Nazis that would serve as both a tool of protection and coercion for the party. Now, we need to step back and consider the chaos that Germany found itself in by 1923. Communist workers were staging uprisings spurred by events in Russia. The disgruntled ex-soldiers, upset with the Weimar Republic, were challenging the army. Miners were challenging the police. Germany was in a state of disorganized chaos. Hitler seized the opportunity amid the chaos. He enlisted the help of Erich Ludendorff for an attempted coup. On 8th of November 1923, Hitler and the SA stormed a public meeting hosted by the State Commissioner. In a beer hall in Munich, he announced that the national revolution had begun and declared the formation of a new government with Ludendorff. The next day, Hitler, Ludendorff, and their supporters marched on the Bavarian War Ministry to overthrow the Bavarian government, but police and some soldiers were waiting on them. After a brief gun battle, the coup failed. The Nazis scattered. Some were arrested, and Hitler would be arrested 2 days later. Hitler was tried for treason, and on the 1st of April 1925 was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Fortunately for Hitler, the courts at the time were sympathetic to nationalists, and Hitler would be pardoned after serving only 9 months. He would spend the time working on his book, Mein Kampf, which of course advocated for the extermination of Jews. The Germans wanted Hitler deported to Austria, but the Austrian government took the position that because Hitler had served in the German military, he had forfeited his Austrian citizenship. Germany was stuck with him. Hitler was now also aware that power could only be gained through legal means. Hitler needed to change his tactics. He did so by agreeing to respect the state's authority and to rather seek political position through legal means. This was enough to get the Nazi Party unbanned. Fate once again favored Hitler. The Great Depression. The stock market in the United States crashed on 24th of October 1929. Hitler would use this opportunity to promise prosperity should he assume power. Around this time, Hitler would meet a pretty shop assistant, Eva Braun. Eva would become Adolf's mistress. In the 1930 German elections, there were no outright winners. The Nazi Party, with 18% of the vote, were the second largest minority. It's important to explain that Germany has a two-tier system of governance. The Chancellor, appointed by the President, is responsible for setting policy and drafting laws. The President could adopt or veto laws or policy and had control of the army. Hitler had the ear of Franz von Papen, the Chancellor at the time. Hitler aligned himself with industrialists who would help to promote his agenda. Alfred Hugenberg, a nationalist, politician, and more importantly, the largest media proprietor at the time, was supportive of Hitler. The 1932 presidential election, Hitler ran against von Hindenburg. Von Hindenburg won the election, but with over 35% of the vote, Hitler's support had clearly grown, and he was not to be ignored. The time had come for von Papen and Hugenberg, amongst others, to write to von Hindenburg, urging him to consider Hitler for the position of Chancellor. On January 30th, 1933, Hindenburg offered Hitler the Chancellorship of Germany. Hitler now had the opportunity to rise to power. Citing the political stalemate between the minority parties, Hitler asked Hindenburg to again dissolve the Reichstag, and elections were scheduled for early March. Once again, fate favored Hitler. On 27th of February 1933, the Reichstag building was set on fire by Dutch communist Marinus van der Lubbe. Hermann Göring blamed a communist plot. Hindenburg responded by signing the Reichstag fire decree of 28th February, drafted by the Nazis. This allowed for detention without trial to maintain public safety and order. This decree was used to suppress the German Communist Party. On the 6th of March 1933, elections were held as expected. The Nazi Party's share of the vote increased to 43.9%, and the party acquired the largest number of seats in parliament. But the Nazis still did not have the absolute majority they needed. Hitler had another plan to gain power. Hitler would table the Enabling Act. This act would allow the Chancellor's Cabinet the power to enact laws without the consent of the Reichstag for 4 years. These laws could, with certain exceptions, deviate from the Constitution. On the 21st March 1933, the law was passed by a vote of 444 to 94. Hitler got busy enacting new laws that would suppress opposition. The Sturmabteilung would occupy and disband trade unions, ultimately leading to their dissolution. The German Labour Front, the Nazi trade union, would become the only trade union. The law on the abolition of the Reichsrat was enacted by the government of Nazi Germany on 14th of February 1934. The Reichsrat was the body by which the German federal states participated in the formation of legislation at the national level. On the 14th of July 1933, the Nazi Party was declared the only legal political party in Germany. The Sturmabteilung, SA, also wanted a piece of the power game. They demanded more power from Hitler, both politically and militarily. Hitler decided it was time to clean house. In the Night of the Long Knives, as it has become known, Hitler purged the SA. He took the opportunity to round up a few political enemies along the way. His enemies and detractors would be shot, ostensibly to restore order to Germany. The cabinet enacted the law concerning the head of state of the German Reich. This law stated that upon Hindenburg's death, the office of the president would be abolished and its powers merged with those of the Chancellor. Hindenburg died on the 2nd of August 1934. Hitler was now the president and Chancellor. He would be called Leader and Chancellor, Führer und Reichskanzler, but eventually he would simply be the Führer. Hitler was now legally, fully in control. Hitler's dream of returning Germany to its former imperial glory of a world power was foremost in his mind.